March 8th, 2023. This is the 2000 tick chart of the S&P 500 E-mini futures on the Thinkorswim platform. So you don't need to watch the entire video, just go down to the descriptions below and you can see where I took my trades and any other setups I might have saw down in the description. So this is what the chart looked like today. It kind of looked like it was in a big choppy trading range. I'll show you what my chart marked up looks like. Here it is. It's kind of ugly. Also just pointing out that I took 5 trades today, and unfortunately on all 5, which is a new one for me, all 5 lost. All 5 were red. So after the 5th trade, I decided, that's it. I got to wrap it up. I just got to not take any more trades. For whatever reason, I'm not in tune with the market. I'm not reading price action correctly, and just a bunch of other things that are affecting my trading. And I just noticed in the past few trading days that my performance had been kind of everywhere. I've been drawn into emotional trading, taking no reason trades, and just not dialed in with what's happening in the market. There was only one catalyst today, which was Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, testifying not in front of the Senate, but this time in front of the House Financials Committee. I think it's Financial Committee. And so it kind of created some choppiness, and overall you can see it was just kind of a big range day. This big range was here. Originally I had it down here in the pre-market because I kind of connected the bottoms. I mean, I could have drawn it a little bit lower, but I liked it here just because there's more touches. And I drew it up here. Granted, I could have put it up here as well. It might have been valid up here, but I also liked it down here again for more touches and just treat it as an overshoot. When the pre-market actually opened, I noticed okay, there's kind of looked like it's a trading range day. I mean, last couple of days were kind of everywhere, but today I thought it's just kind of be a trading range. It's going to be bigger than I anticipated, though. So this is a pre-market. I don't trade the pre-market. I saw a new high here, so first entry long and then a second entry long. I thought this is probably a decent trade because I did have this kind of established at one point, drawn from here to here. But again, I didn't trade the pre-market, so it's kind of a moot point. Price is opened, and I counted this all together as a new low. I mean, technically this is the new low, but I counted all this together. So I started the count here and I said it's the first entry short, second entry short here. However, I didn't take that trade just because it's not the best signal bar, because this is technically your signal bar, and when it breaks below here, that's where the second entry short is confirmed. But to take a entry down here where it closed all the way up here is pretty risky. So I just kind of left that trade alone. I mean, it could have been a failed breakout if you had this as your trading range, but still I just didn't feel it was worthwhile to take that trade. Prices continued moving down, shopping around. I do draw this trend channel going down. This trading range, I kind of just cropped it here and I drew a new one here because once this touched twice, I draw it in because 2 points make a line and I need a third for confirmation. Technically I could have dragged this up a little higher and had a confirmation there, which I think I did at one point, but later I just kind of dragged it down. Confirmation 3 times to the top here. And so clearly I'm in a trading range at this point. I'm just watching price action at this point, doing nothing. Looks like it's respecting it. Now it's starting to break out. It's also making higher lows. So I draw this trend channel here, connect these 2 points, and it confirmed here. And then up here I wasn't quite sure. So I just kind of maybe had it here, had it there, and eventually just kind of settled on just about right there. Prices continue moving up. Now breaks sharply below. Not only breaks below, it also crashes through the EMA. Now it's making a move down. This is also right when Jerome Powell is coming out and starting to testify. This is where a lot of the House of Representatives, people in the Financial Committee are all doing their spiel, getting their 15 minutes of fame talking. And so it kind of does cause some volatility. And then Jerome Powell just speaks for, I think, a little over an hour. And so prices continue moving down. I don't take any trades. I do see a new low here. First entry short goes all the way up. I see a second entry short here. But I didn't really like this at this time because it's only 3 minutes since the start of people talking. It looked pretty choppy. Now the momentum is also clearly bullish. And so if I were to take this trade to be counter trend, there's enough room to get back down. And as you can see, the trade would have worked. But again, I didn't know that at the time, so it was better for me just to leave it alone. Prices continued chopping, and this is actually where I took my first trade. I saw this as a new high. I saw this consolidation. It tries to break up once, first entry long, and then here makes a second entry long, just one tick above, but it also closed very, very bullish right where it opened. Now, I also had this trend channel drawn at the time, and so I thought, okay, not only did it break out, it tried to make a new high. I think it has enough gas to try to touch the top of this to make a new extreme. So I enter one tick. After I see this close, I enter one tick again above this guy. And unfortunately, it goes up. It doesn't hit my profit target, and then it flashes down. So my trade stop is down here. And so I'm here nervous watching. Boom. What is kind of a kick in the pants is my trade stops down here. It goes ahead, stops me out, then immediately reverses. So I'm not really sure if I read the entire setup correctly. Like maybe this trade shouldn't have been taken, or this trade probably was a decent trade and it just happened that I got stopped out, because not all trades, even the high probability, is guaranteed. So certainly when I had my stop here, I know I could have had potentially my stop down here, but it's like pretty far from my risk reward that I think would be viable. I mean, let's say I did put it down here. There's nothing to say that this couldn't have crashed all the way through, and I would have just increased and magnified my losses. So it's a little unfortunate. Turned out to be a losing trade. So that's the first trade. Already got lost, and then it kind of burns that, it shot up and went in the direction that I thought, because I thought, hey, it's coming down, EMA is being supported, it would go up, but it just barely hit my limit order, and it came down and then took me out, and it continued going up. I did have to fight the temptation to just quickly jump back on, because that's not the way to go, unless there's a super compelling reason, like a absolutely perfect setup. Now, this really isn't an absolutely perfect setup because it was just choppy. So I unfortunately jumped back on, and I think in the long term it's probably a better thing. Prices continue moving down. I see two measured move legs going up, one here to about right here, and then it turns back down. It's like a new high, first entry long. And right down here you get a second entry long, but I just kind of skipped over that. Prices continue down, and at this point I see potential support. So I draw this line to this line, and I just arbitrarily just put the top of the channel up here, just to see if there's any guidelines to work with. Prices continue moving up. Now it's breaking out of this trading range. This trading range turns out to be kind of, pretty much the dominant trading range that I could find, but it was being, prices were spiking out above and below several times throughout the day, but it's the kind of the one that seemed to be respected, or most of the price action was kind of jumping in and out of. I do see a failed second entry long here. Now, depending on how you do the count, I counted these two together as a new count of a new high. So the first entry long, second entry long, and then I saw a potential, since it spiked up and then it came right back down. This whole bar engulfed the previous candle. Could have been a failed second entry long, but it's a good bearish bar. But I didn't like that it's coming right into the EMA. It didn't break below, and also on top of that, there's a potential another resistance of this trading range. So I saw it as a very good chance that it hit here and bounce back up. And I had to put my entry down here, or I had to trust it that it would engulf the previous candle completely, both of which I wasn't too sure of. So it turns out it would have worked for a scalp. Then it goes back up, prices continue chopping up. And now it's confirming the top of this channel that I had drawn here. Prices continue chopping. And this is where I take my next trade. I found this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Now, in hindsight, I don't think this is probably the best thing to do, just because I saw, okay, well, this is a decent signal bar. It closed at the top, even though it's bearish, so it did close slightly below where it opened, but it's below the EMA, and I didn't take into account at the time that it could have been a failed second entry, because I thought I was going with trend. It's kind of clearly going bullish, and it broke out of the trading range here, so I thought, okay, there's a chance, but potentially there's like another resistance potentially right here that I was coming into. I never really touched it, but I thought, from what I saw at the time, I thought, okay, it was potentially a trade here. It turns out to be a failed second entry long, because as you see, it comes up and it comes down. It makes a double bottom, so it doesn't really quite confirm it's a failure yet. and then it finally does here. So unfortunately, that's my second trade of the day. I also, well, got red on it. And then as prices are moving, it's coming back up, going down, it's chopping. I draw this trend channel to contain it. It looks like it's obeying it pretty well, but I don't see any good setups. Prices continue moving down. It's below the EMA. Now it's in this trading range, and then it breaks out above. I don't see any good, clean setups that I would feel comfortable taking. I mean, you can count this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short, failure. And it was coming right into the EMA, so you'd have to kind of wait for this candle to close. It's also coming up against this trading range, which I think I had a little bit lower here. So those two things are kind of telling me like there's potential resistance here because the EMA might pull prices back down, might come back up, but it is kind of respecting this larger bottom of the channel at this point. But again, I have no idea if its dominating factor is going to be a move back up or it's going to come back and try to test the lows. Even though it broke out, kind of tested lows here, it could potentially come back down. So all those made me confused, maybe just sit on my hands. Now I did see a, depending on how you do the count, you could say this is grouped together, or you could count this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. And that's kind of how I saw it, potentially. And then it broke up. And so I didn't want to miss this trade. I've already had two losing trades, and I technically should have just left it alone, but I saw this as a higher low. So I saw, okay, first entry long, second entry long, higher low here. EMA is holding. It's confirming a bullish uptrend. And turns out I was wrong. And it could have been like a new low, first entry short, second entry short, but I'm already in the trade here to quickly reverse my thinking, clear out the trade for a loss, and then quickly jump on the new trade. I wasn't mentally capable of doing that. So then I saw a new high here. I said, okay, well, let's just regroup it again. Now, when trading, I shouldn't be jumping back and forth, counting this as one group or counting just this guy. But I jumped back and forth, which is something I shouldn't do. And this, so what I did was I counted this as a new high, first entry long, and I said, okay, this is obviously a second entry long. I take an entry, I wait. I see, okay, this is a pretty terrible candle. Let's see what the trigger bar does. Trigger bar does close right at the EMA, and I thought, well, that's a good enough trade for me. And I put my entry one tick above. And so when it filled me, I thought, okay, now prices should go back up. But it doesn't, because it closes right where it opens. And this is a foolish thing, but, not enough information there. Because this, I saw it at the time, but I didn't give it much thought at the moment that this could potentially be a trading range. So I'd be trading at the middle of the trading range, taking an entry long or short, which isn't telling me much right now, except that I thought it was going to continue bullish. So when I entered one tick above here, my exit or stop is down here, and as you can see, it stops me out right on that next candle. So that is my fourth trade. I mean, I should have thought about it more carefully. There's a long wick up here, so this clearly isn't even a very good signal. Well, this is a signal bar, but this isn't even a good trigger bar for a second confirmation. I should just waited to see maybe there's a higher low or a different setup, or just skip the trade completely. There's nothing wrong with just taking no trade. So then this is what I call a no reason trade, because again, I've run into these 2 days in a row now. I've taken these trades based off of no clean setup. But I saw, okay, it's chopping around. It kind of bounced off of here. I think I convinced myself there's potential triple test down here. And I said, oh, obviously it's going to break out and go up. Now, this is the trading range. There's nothing telling me that this is actually going to break up. For the most part, it tells me that this could hold and it could chop around and go sideways even more. And that's exactly what it did. So when I took that trade, it was pretty foolish. I just kind of entered, I think just haphazardly in here, probably at the same entry as this guy, and thinking, okay, it's going to go up based off of nothing. And it was just an emotional knee-jerk reaction, and then I get stomped out. So then prices continue moving down. This is the trading range that was originally established from the pre-market, and it still looks like most of the price action's holding inside. You could widen it up, but I just wanted to use this as a basis for the trading. And at this point, when I lost like 5 in a row, and I just said, you know what, I shouldn't take any more trades. I'm going to get too emotional. I'm going to try to revenge, try to get it all back in one trade, or just do something quite foolish, or take huge contract sizes. Just thinking, oh, if I take a lot of contract, then it only has to move a fraction of a point, or just move 1 point, and I'll be back in the game. But I know better, that I should just, sit on my hands for the rest of the day. So that's pretty much what I did. just kind of sat on my hands, did a lot more reading, looked at the charts every so often. So when I went back and looked, I was just trying to see if there's any clean setups, and I did see like a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, and although it was setting up, I didn't think it was a good signal bar. It's too far from the EMA, and it turns out it would have worked, but of course you don't know that at the time. Prices continue moving down, chops back up, and I draw these trading channels just to keep practicing and getting better. And it comes down. I do see this is a very potentially good trade because it's a new high, first entry long, comes down, second entry long, and it's also a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. So I thought this is actually a decent trade. I didn't take it because I'm just kind of like, I had to intervene on myself to make sure I don't blow up or dig myself into a bigger hole. But when I saw this close, I thought this is actually a pretty decent trade because it's showing that this is first entry long, second entry long. Here, this wasn't, I didn't truly believe in this trend line yet, but it did confirm and reject it. Now I did see that this is first entry short, second entry short. This is a pretty decent candle. So on the next candle, I thought, well, it might have been worthwhile trade to maybe put one tick below or to try to put one tick above. I don't know if I would have gotten filled or if I would have really even taken the trade, but it was something that I noticed. Then prices continue moving down. It's respecting the EMA. EMA is keeping prices down. It's pretty good. I drew the bottom of this channel here, and I like that it was confirming now. And then I see another potential new low, first entry short, second entry short. Now, this is not a second entry short yet, but you're getting ready to have it trigger. And I thought this is a pretty good bullish, pretty good bearish candle to continue downwards. There's enough room to the bottom here, and had you taken the trade, it would have worked out. And now it's like super good confirmation that this trend channel is accurate, because I also had this a little bit higher at one point, but I didn't like these two overshoots, so I actually dragged it down a little bit lower. And I was just playing, if these would have been with trend trades, and it would have worked out pretty well. Probably would have got a decent runner out of that. Prices come back up. Now I see another setup. I see a new low, first entry short. This is setting up to be very similar to these. However, I don't necessarily like this setup. I thought it was a little more aggressive just because it closed, and it's pretty close to this bar, whereas these were like very far from, you got a lot more room to run down. And this formed pretty quickly after the first second entry short. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just didn't feel that this was as safe a trade, if that makes any sense. It's a good signal bar, makes a triple top here, 1, 2, 3, but it's very close together, so you could have just counted this as one top. But it was there. It was what I considered an aggressive trade. Then the prices just continue chopping, and then I do see some second entries, but nothing that I really thought was worth taking. To say there's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, failure. I mean, there is a failure here, but if this candle actually closed higher, I feel more confident and not right at the EMA. Now, this trend channel is drawn at this point. I did draw it, and I just arbitrarily put it here, and it confirmed it later. But even though it's two key entry points, I just didn't like that the candle closed here because I also had this trading range established. And I thought, well, if it hits, it might come back down. And overall sentiment at the time was bearish because you got this big move down. It did make two legs, so it could have played out, but again, I didn't know at the time. And so there is potential trade right there. And then prices continue moving. You could claim that this is a lower high here if you confirmed the failed second entry short here, but I didn't because I just thought, okay, well, it's just choppy right now. The prices continue moving. It's getting late in the day. There is some price action here, but nothing worth mentioning, in my opinion. Nothing worth taking a trade on. And then seeing this big move, I kind of went back to see if I could find a trade that would have helped me get on board with this. The only thing potentially is a triple test, but the triple test is, I would feel I'd be reaching. I'd be kind of hoping for a trade, but that this triple test is just going to suddenly work. So yes, there is a triple test here, but there's no real clear second entries that I saw, at least on my chart. So fortunately, this is just a trade you have to sit out on and watch it go without me. I mean, even if I was trading, and then prices continue chopping left and right into the close. So that's how I saw it today. It was the first time ever that I had all trades end up losing trade. Now, granted, if I kept trading, maybe trade 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe I would have gotten a win out, but 5 trades in a row, it already tells me like, okay, I'm not in tune. I need to step back. Don't trade anymore for today. Just the market got the best of me today, and I just have to, buckle down, review the trades, review the charts, and then just come back next day. So I hope that was helpful.